Hey folks, welcome back to the Barbarian's Horde. I'm the Nerdy Barbarian, and today we're going to take a look at one that's a lot of bang for the buck from EMPEDC. It's called the NEF-Sun. Relative, EMP relative. Okay, like I was saying, guys, the NEF-Sun, the Relative, is a pretty good bang for the buck. This thing's made in China by BestTech for EMPEDC. Titanium frame lock with a front flipper, a pierced fuller for your multiple opening fidget factor. I think these things are still available at the time of recording. They're around $300. You can get them straight from EMP's website. I don't have any affiliation with them, but I'll put a link down below. You can find them. You can Google it too. EMPEDC will bring them right up. They're not that hard to find. And in fact, they have a new model coming out soon, the Nimble X, based on their really popular design that preceded this one called the Nimble. And it's a very similar knife, except it's got a different blade shape, and it adds a back flipper, which this doesn't have. This only has a front flipper and an opening hole. But we'll talk about that when the time comes if I end up picking those up. Let's go over to the table and take a closer look at this. All right, the Relative comes pretty well packaged. You're gonna get a box, and inside that is a really nice pouch. Plastic bags, stickers, yada yada yada. I like that, that's nice enough. It's not over the top, but it makes me feel like I'm not buying something out of a 25-cent machine in the supermarket. And this is the knife, the EMP Relative frame lock. They describe it as a modified Tanto buoy combo. That just kind of looks like a buoy to me. This kind of clipped point here. It's got a compound grind that's pretty nice. I like that. I think kind of reminds me of a Chavez. Feels sort of like a Chavez. Except this is made by BestTech, the OEM on this one. I think the Chavez is made by Riot. Still both very nice companies. I tend to put Riot a little higher in my personal tier list as far as quality goes, but BestTech is also known for quality. Pretty much anything they've had their hands on, is a safe bet. Let's get a weight on this thing. 4.3, it's a little bit heavy compared to an Zon 5.2 and a PM2 4.0. So a little heavier than a PM2, a lot lighter than an Zon. Not bad. Not super light, but not bad. You're probably not going to mind as long as you're used to carrying full-size knives. Let's compare the size. PM2 and the Zon. And then I'll throw in a little AD 20.5 since you've been good. So it's about the same size as the AD 20.5, a little smaller than all the others. About the same blade to handle. Well, no, it's got a better blade to handle than the PM2, but it's got exactly the same size blade as a PM2. But a shorter handle, so that's kind of good in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of the PM2 because of how wonky the blade to handle ratio is, but I mean, it's comfortable, it's a good knife, but that's all it is a good knife. It's ugly and not that fun to play with, honestly. Kind of outdated in my opinion. I'm getting off track, this is not about PM2. As far as this goes, by the way, this, if you've seen any of my recent videos, you've probably seen those nasty stitches that I keep forgetting to put a band-aid over and cover. Stitches are out now, but I'm probably going to have a scar forever. This is the one that did it. This knife right here. But it wasn't the knife's fault. Hats off to the knife for being sharp enough that it didn't really hurt that bad. It was way worse getting the numbing shots in the wound before the stitches than it was actually getting cut by the knife. I was cutting zip ties off my tripod and I was distracted. I was talking to a friend and I was cutting towards myself like an idiot. And I slipped right through it and went like 10 inches further than I should have and right into my hand. Now, I wouldn't be so crass as to just dump this on your eyeballs without warning you, but I'm going to show the wound that I got on my hand, and I'll give you time to click ahead. I'll put some timestamps down below so you can dodge this if you really don't want to see it. But yeah, this is what I did to my hand, and I ended up getting 8 stitches to fix it, and I learned a very valuable lesson, which is don't cut towards yourself while distracted or at all. I'll put some happy music on as I unblur this to make you kind of retain your lunch a little better maybe. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. What a humbling experience. You get complacent. You mess with knives this much. I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, and eventually they'll bite you. You can't do that. You can't do that with guns. You can't do that with knives. You can't do that with cars. You really gotta just remind yourself every so often that you need to take these things seriously. We play with them like toys, but they really aren't toys. They're tools, and they can be dangerous if you aren't paying attention to what you're doing. So, PSA: don't be like me. Pay attention to what you're doing. Cut your neighbor, not yourself.
Smart thinking.
Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe!
So yeah, this is a fairly full-size knife. The blade's a little on the shorter side. 3 3/8, and the cutting edge is 3 1/4. Handle just about 4 1/2. Overall length 7 3/4 ish. So you know, not tiny, not huge. I'd call this a mid-size knife. PM2 size, as you saw. So not bad. Carries fine. One of the great things about this knife is that they give you multiple deployment options. If you're familiar with EMPEDC, that's kind of one of their things. The Nimble is probably more popular than this knife, and I think they call it the Nimble because of all the deployment options. It's got the hole and the front flipper, but it also adds a back flipper, which this doesn't have. And to be honest, I probably should have just bought the Nimble. I think I would have liked it more if I had a back flipper also, but this is still good. It's got pretty good action. It's not a supercar knife or anything, but it's pretty good. It's nice and smooth. A little stiff. Flicks out really nice. Got a good detent. Front flips well. I'm not a super great front flipper, but it does fine. And usually with these blade hole knives, these pierced fuller knives, I have trouble thumb flicking them, but actually on this one, works okay. I can. It's not quite as easy as a spider hole. Go out to the side a little more than is comfortable, but it is doable. As far as disengagement goes, I always whine about the detent ball. It's fine. You hit right, or you're locked here, hit the ball there, over it there, and it falls. So not nearly as bad as some others. I'd call this good. B+, A-. Pretty happy with that. It's not one I ever have to think about. I just pull it forward and drop it, and that's good. Some of my favorite knives in the world, like Shirogorov, have horrible detent placement and really long ramps, so I can get down to here and I'm still on a ramp, and it'll fling me back up. I hate that. This one doesn't do that. Thumbs up. This is good. The fit and finish on this, well, it's a Bestech knife, so it's not bad, as you might imagine. And it's also well designed. The guy who created these, I'll put his name here, came into this when he started this company around 2020, not as a knife designer, never worked in the industry, I don't believe. He just kind of taught himself and did it. He did a good job designing this because he was a knife freak going into it. So T8s everywhere. Every screw on this thing, I believe, is a T8 because he's a knife guy, and that's the thing we like to obsess over. So that's awesome. I don't like T6s. I don't think anyone does. I keep a box of T6 bits just in case because I round them off. I mean, they round off even just using them normally. Even if you're not doing anything stupid, they're just so small that they damage. That's the way it is, and I really don't think they should be on a knife at all. And the designer agrees because here we're all T8, and that's nice. Fit and finish. They haven't gone crazy with the rounding and deburring, but everything is soft, nothing hurts, nothing sharp. I like that we have a backspacer instead of just standoffs. Got a lanyard hole there if you want it. It came perfectly centered. No blade play, no lock rock. We're locking up at about 20%, so fairly early, maybe 30. The blade is naked. They didn't put a bunch of branding on it, which is nice. Just a nice belt satin finish. And then we got a bead blasted fuller, which looks nice. The belt satin goes down on the grind, and then it's left to right on the flats. And then in the fuller is bead blasted. And that's a nice touch. It makes it look it gives it a little more depth. Like it already didn't have depth, right? With this multifaceted grind, this compound grind. That's a really fancy looking blade no matter what you do to it. Really, that adds a lot. You also got jimping all along the spine. So all the jimping nerds are going to be creaming in your pants. You're going to love that. I don't really care about jimping, but you're going to need it to front flip. So, but yeah, you can choke up here. You got the nice big finger choil / sharpening choil. You can go on the handle. It's going to be very nearly a 3.5 finger grip if you got big hands like I do. Kind of feels like it's supposed to be choked up on. It kind of like feels like what they were going for. So I mean, this is probably the normal grip you're going to be in. Unless you're like me and most of what you do is going to be pinch grip because you're just pulling it out to, pull it out of your pocket, cut a package real quick. You're going to be doing this. And that's comfortable too. You can lock it in right here and then your finger goes on the top and you're on the jumping still. You can also pull forward more and get on the front of this buoy tip. And that's also comfortable. You got a little ramp there to lock onto. So that's good. Captive pivot with just the EMPEDC logo on that side and then the T8 on that side. Titanium hardware throughout, titanium scales, titanium clip, titanium pivot collar. Very nice. There's a lot of high dollar stuff on this for a $300 knife, but that's what happens when you get a good higher end knife from China from someone like Bestech or Kunwu or Wee or Riot, any of those companies. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck, and that's no different here. Sharpening, you got lots of room there. Like I said, you got this big finger choil, and it drops enough that you got a lot of blade life there to sharpen, and that shouldn't be a problem. The plunge grind is really close. That could have been maybe a little further away. That would have been better for me. It's not the end of the world though. That's probably going to be okay. I haven't had to sharpen this yet, so I'm not sure how that's if that's gonna get in the way of my wicked edge stones or not. It's a little close. It's not the worst I've seen though, and you do have a little bit of drop, so that's nice. You got a flat here and then a dramatic change here. So this is kind of a tanto, like they said, I guess. It's not a smooth belly. Flat, and then a sharp angle here, and then up swoop. I haven't had any problems carrying this or using this apart from trying to cut my own finger off. It's been great, and I will say, I didn't lose my grip on it. All the blood and guts and gore.
And I looked down, and them little bloody nubs was kicking real fast like this here.
You got good milling here that, for one thing, it helps with grip, but also it makes the knife not feel slimy in my hands. I don't know if I'm just a greasy, gross person, but if I'm holding a knife that has a really slick, plain titanium scale setup or really, really, really shallow micro milling, like on Machine-Wise, the knife just always feels sweaty to me no matter what I do. This is a little deeper. This doesn't feel sweaty to me. This is nice. I didn't have any problems when I tried to commit seppuku. Held onto the knife the whole time. Carry's fine. Like I said, kinda heavy, but it's not so heavy you're gonna really be crying about it. Fairly deep carry clip. So that's what you're gonna have sticking out right there. Not the deepest in the world, but not shallow either, really. Not what I would call shallow. Okay, I think I'm gonna tear this apart and get a look at the insides of it and see if there's anything worth pointing out in there. So come along with me. Let's go.
We going?
Okay, and if you're wondering, I use the same tools everyone else does. These VHA or WEHA. I think it's German, so it's probably pronounced VHA, but we're American, so we're gonna say WEHA. I think WEHA bits. These are like 20 bucks. Then I also keep these T-handles around, also VHA, because some pivots aren't captive and I need two. So, and then a little Amazon Ultim driver that I thought was cool. Okay, this all should be T8 though, so I think we'll only need this one bit. I'm gonna pull these screws first and then take the pivot out. I bet this is not structural. I bet that just goes into the scale. So I'm thinking these two and the pivot are the only thing holding the knife together, but let's see. And like I expected, it was just those two screws in the pivot and it came right apart. We've got your typical lower end metal caged bearings here, open on one side and closed on the other. Feel pretty good though, fairly slick. There's nothing wrong with these. Lots of people use these. Weeds, VV. Even Koenig uses bearings, I mean, worse than this. Theirs are plastic caged. So, I mean, these work fine. I'm sure Skiff makes one that would fit this if you wanted to. In fact, that might be a worthwhile upgrade on this because the one complaint I really have about this knife is the action feels a little stiff. The blade is inlet here for the bearings. You got like a stop pin there and a channel in the scales for the stop pin. We have a lock bar insert, and hopefully we're gonna have a washer here instead of just having bearings riding on titanium like way too many people are still doing. Just gonna stick a magnet on it and see if I can pick it out. Yep, hooray! So that way we don't have ceramic ball bearings riding and wearing a groove into our titanium. Over time that will happen if you don't have a washer in there. Thank God Best Tech put one in there. I don't know if it was the designer from I don't know if EMPEDC requested that in the design or if that's standard procedure for Best Tech, but either way I really like to see that. Every knife should be doing that. You should not have ceramic bearings riding on titanium. It needs to stop. Way too many $1,000 knives are still doing that and I hate it. It looks like that's about all we got to it though. A fairly simple design. Does its job, works well. I'm going to slap it back together and then we'll go finish up. So yeah, pretty solid knife, pretty simple inside, no big complaints, good price for what you're getting, still available at the time of recording. It's also really good at carving your hand into pieces and grossing out all your audience for like 2 months. So if you're looking for a tool for that job, this might fit the bill. Would I recommend this knife? Yeah, absolutely. If you're comfortable spending $300 on a knife, you're not getting ripped off here, you're gonna get a lot for your money. This is a solid knife with good materials, good fit and finish, and a good design. It looks cool, it's easy to carry, it's fun to use. It comes fairly sharp. I don't really have any big reservations about recommending this one. I think I might order some skiffs for mine. The action's a little bit slow, but I think maybe it's breaking in a little bit as it goes, so it's not bad. It's nowhere near the worst action. It's still a fine action. It flicks out well. It just doesn't slam closed, and to be honest, I don't always like that anyway, so. Yeah, I don't really have any big downsides to give you on this one, guys. This is pretty much a 2 thumbs up. If you're looking for a $300 titanium framelock knife, this is a good one to look at. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming and spending some time with me. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really need the help getting the algorithm to take me seriously. I've got a link to Patreon down below and some affiliate links with a discount code for Civivi if that's something you're into. Otherwise, I just appreciate your time, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.